And hello, everybody. This is a short video, as short as I can make it, to make sure that you have the basics of the course that we would normally go over on Monday. We got delayed in the classroom for those that were there, so we were delayed by 15 or 20 minutes trying to figure out the technology. And thanks to Vanya, who was actually our control tower operator for those that were participating on Zoom, that worked out really well. So I appreciate her help. Hopefully everything will be straightened out tomorrow. We'll talk about this in this video. Okay, so Globus is a simulation that's used. It's not only about global business, but it's also globally used by business schools, both at the undergraduate and graduate level. And you'll find out that there's a soft competition. I wouldn't really call it competition, but there's an awareness that these people that run the system can tell what other colleges are running on the same schedule as us. And throughout the semester, you may be getting recognized for or competing pretty well. You might end up in the top 100 or the top 50 or the top 25. We even had a class or a group that was number one in all of the schools, and that would be undergraduate. The undergraduates compete against undergraduates. So it's kind of neat to think that there's people around the globe doing this while you're doing it. You don't have to care about that. You don't have to pay attention to it. Nothing happens there, except at the end of a round, you might get a notice that you did really well, which should be recognized by the end of the class. We'll talk about that. All right. So that's what Globus is. And this is what it looks like. I'm going to come over here really quickly. This is what it looks like when you show up here, and you're going to click on the New Students tab. Okay. And when you click on the New Students tab, what you're going to do is going to put in a code that you'll have. I'm going to show you in this video how to use. It's going to be on eClass. You can get a hold of it, okay? And you can go through this. On the next screens, now I'm not going to go any further than this, but on the next screen, there's a place to accept a 2-week temporary account if you aren't in the position to purchase it right now. But please do this before Wednesday's class, okay? Because I'd like to have everybody in there. When we get in there, I'd like to see everybody. I can check really quickly. I'll show you tonight. Well, it's tonight as I'm doing this, how I can tell, who's registered and who hasn't, okay? All right. So I'm going to go back out. I'm going to duck into the instructor center. That's where I go. And I've been using this a number of years. This is the 7th time that I've used it. So I'm going to go into Industry 7, they call it. So we're Industry 7. And let's see. Yeah, this is how I can tell who's been registered in here. We have a bunch of names of people, but a lot of teams haven't shown up yet. That's because of our hiccup on Monday. All right, so back to the Word document here. We want to register in the system. I'll show you a little bit about that. Let's go over to eClass. I have to go to the other browser. Okay, so we're on eClass here. And again, this is an instructor view. You will not see anything past the first couple of these green blocks, okay? So every time we have a class, a green block shows up. That means that's the hot or the active class that we're in. Now look at all the preface material that's in here. I just created. This is what took me a little time getting to the video. I beefed this up even clearer than I had last time. And so I'm going to flip through these eClass panels really quickly here so you can see there's a lot of information, really fast access here that comes right out of the syllabus, okay? So the first thing is a welcome that really is a static page. And one of the things to think about in this class is where are you headed? So I usually start out talking about this composite of 4 different images of different kinds of work environment, things that attract you to whatever you want to do. We'll talk about that in the career pursuit. So we'll talk about that, all right? This is all about how you're going to get your job upon graduation, right? Okay, so the first tab, weekly schedule, and the fall 20, that's the Mount academic calendar to keep you on track. So week by week, it's broken down with what has to happen in GB, and this is Globus, okay? And right below this is the actual printed, I think it's on the website. I did a screenshot and I dropped it in here, okay? So it's kind of big. But one thing to keep in mind out, and I have a question in, that normally Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes, we have to do like a makeup or 2 before the end of the semester. They are not indicated in here. So until you hear differently, there's no hiccups in the normal Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule. But if you remember, like Thanksgiving time, quite often the Tuesday before Thanksgiving is used for classes that were meeting Mondays, because there's a bunch of holidays on Mondays. You have Labor Day and you have Columbus Day, so you have to make it up. Okay, so that's what's in this tab. And now I'll take a little bit of a closer look at this. This has Monday of the week 1, of week 2, of week 3, there's the Monday date for that. What we're going to do in the class is just a short overview of what's going to happen in there. And so we're going to review the syllabus, and we're going to do a Globus tour. The GB is for Globus. The Globus Practice Year 6 is something that you're going to have to work on with your team, and this is very experiential. It's going to be very hard at first. There's a lot of terms, a lot of things that you have to figure out, how to navigate through the system and everything. And then there is the beginning of the e-text, which there are 12 chapters, and it's fundamental strategy. It's the fundamentals of real strategy at a global, large company, a multinational company that you're running. Okay, so that will run in parallel if you want to think about it. The text and the book learned information runs parallel. It's not directly coupled to the simulation. Okay, so the simulation, everybody's going to work in groups of 3, couple teams of 2. There was already one group of 2, and then one of the students backed out, dropped the course. So there's going to be 2 teams of 2, and the rest, I think there's 5 teams of 3. I think I have that right. And then there's going to be the mystery team that's going to be coming in near the end and try to beat you all. Okay. All right. So these go through the weeks. I have exceptions listed over on the right, which I'm sure will help put anchors down for you. There's Labor Day, we won't be meeting. There's Columbus Day, we won't be meeting. And then we have Thanksgiving week. And of course, that'll be sad because we're going to say goodbye to each other before finishing the semester. Okay. All right. So I will be making these tabs more available over time, but right now we have enough to work with. Monday, we didn't really get into too much because of the interruption, and Wednesday will be tomorrow. Okay. So if I click on tomorrow, okay, there's some things we'll finish up talking about the syllabus just a bit. This video is going to take the place of going over the syllabus, review Globus a little bit, and dive into some of those things. It has a list of what you have to be concerned of. The assignments run basically Monday at 12 a.m. in the morning to Saturday night 23:59 or 11:59 p.m. Okay, so most of the assignments tend to be running week to week, but the exception is the simulations. You'll do 2 a week. Okay, just give an idea what's going on there. All right, so we looked at the weekly schedule and we looked at the academic calendar, first tab. All right, I think this is a nice, real fast reference as to what's due. You can almost look at this and understand what's due. It's just about a list of every week what we'll have handed in. Okay, so under here, grab the latest syllabus. I think I sent it out, but grab the latest syllabus, download it. The latest version will always be up there. And this has the syllabus. This has the Globus participant manual. And it has the Globus helpline. I put it right up there in the tab. If you have a technology problem where you can't get your account or it flipped out somehow, I put the number right up there. And when you dial it, there's a button that says, are you an instructor or student? You click the student, right? Okay, so that's that. So here's the syllabus. I tried to make it clear with a little heading picture here. Here's the fall syllabus. Now, everybody download the Globus participant manual and print it. You can't rely on it being in the screen. You need both. Okay, so part of your exam grade will be the fact that I can see that you have your participant manual printed, and you have to use it. It's very, very dense. There's no pictures in there, and I'll tell you why it's so important in a second here. Okay, so you can download it right here. It's a PDF. Okay, the syllabus is a Word file. I did that because you can take notes in there if you want. You can write in the margins. You can put comments and notes into that if you want to. I used to put it out as PDF, but you can't edit that, so I put it out as Word now. Okay, so it's syllabus, participant manual, and your Globus helpline. All right, so the next thing to look at, okay, most of you have had me before. There's a lot of the same setup for things that happen here. What's new is that we have this Monday, Wednesday, Friday cohort to consider and make sure everybody's showing up on the correct day. So on this tab, again, this is up at the class IDs, cohorts, what company you're in, and registration codes. Did I put those in there? Yeah, I did. Okay. All right. So there's a lot of information on here that comes really fast. I mean, you can look at these tabs very quickly if you have a question. Just remember, it's a pretty active e-class. Okay. So here's the list of our people in the class, and you've already been told or indicated what your cohort is, ABC, 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 okay? I think we only had one drop, no ads so far, so there might be somewhere in here there's somebody's missing, okay? Yeah, it's been taken out. It's right in here. See, there should be an A there. Somebody dropped out of the course there. Okay. So you already know what cohort you're in. A is for Monday, B is for Wednesday, and C is for Friday. What you've heard before, if you've had me, if I look down this list of name, I think almost everybody's had me here, right? And I do the normal thing that there's a class ID. Everybody gets a 2-digit class ID. The only reason you need that is when you submit files on eClass or by chance maybe on an email. An assignment. It tends to be the assignments. Okay, so you start the file name with 01 would be Eddie, and then you put his name, some kind of form of his name in there, and then usually I've given you the file, so just leave the rest of the file name after that, but always start with a 2-digit number, and that really speeds grading up. My grading takes a long time because I have a lot of types of work where I have to spend time reading essays and thinking about things like that, like your final projects, for instance. So it makes a big difference when it comes in. I can sort that really fast that way. Okay. So this table here has two things. It has your class ID. Write that down. Remember it for this class. That's what it's going to be. And every time you send in a file, you'll start it with those 2 digits. And if you forget what day you're supposed to show up, hopefully you know by about the second week. All right, you know already. But this is just a reminder. Or maybe you need to know who else is in what cohort. If you're meeting on Monday, you might be interested in who's on Wednesday versus the Friday cohort that's doing this by Zoom. Okay. So everybody has a day that they show up, and everybody else has to participate by Zoom, and I'll do my normal attendance. I'll show you how that works. You know how that works, but I'll show you anyway. All right. So I had sent this out earlier, a week or two before the start of the class, company management team. So I totally randomized it. In fact, there's your random numbers here. Okay. To make the assignments of teams. Okay. Now, remember when we were in the Globus system, you need a number. Well, this number here should fit that slot. This is the first half of the code. This gets registered at the company when I set up a simulation. So like Industry 7 you saw. When I set up Industry 7, it gave me a stack of these numbers, which I publish and give to you. And that's how it knows that by assignment, everybody in A, okay, everybody in A is listed. If you notice, it's a kind of a cryptic code, and then it ends with A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. Okay? All right. So that's how you know if you're an A company or B company or whatever. I actually wrote it out over here. So you're an A company or B company or C company. You're going to rename your company in a bit, but that's what it's named right now. It's either A or B or C or D. And then what I did is I sorted this by company. So I think how would this go? I might have reproduced the same information here. So I'll go back and I'll do a screenshot that just shows this in alphabetical order so you can find yourself quicker. That's the issue here. These are like the same files, or this is the same information, and these are both by company. I just noticed that these are both by companies. So I'll change this so this is alphabetical over here, and then you can tell by company. Right? It's actually pretty easy to do. And I can go over here right now and look at this, and I can sort on the last name. There we go. And that's what I'm talking about. I just set that. That's how I do this. Okay. So I just set it up. So now it's back to alphabetical. We have Arnold, Brust, Carrasco, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll reprint that out there so that you have one by your alphabetical name and one by team. So you can find yourself either way. Okay. Okay. So that's in that tab. All right. Okay. So then remember, you need to come here. You need to come here. I sent this out in an email, but now I put it up in eClass, so you should be able to just grab it right off here. Okay. So you'll be able to grab that. Okay. The next tab is Zoom link. Okay. And I've actually put the text up here at the top that you're supposed to get into. And since Monday, I have to explain to you, there might be a little bit of confusion because when I went in to look at Zoom, and this is what slowed me down getting this video out, I've been on the line with IT support at the Mount and with the tech people at Zoom who are very good. If you have a problem with your Zoom getting in or something, what I did is I reposted the link down here. And what happened was there seemed to be some kind of like glitch in the matrix, and someone set a master default setting that all accounts now have to have a password. If you notice, if you look in this link here, it says PWD. It says question mark PWD. That's password is equal to. All right. So you might need this link and then use this passcode. And again, I have actually at this point, probably 30 hours after I've asked, still trying to sort this out because poor IT is just being crushed by so many. They're not a crush, they're doing well, but it's just that they can't get back to me right now. So I had to put both information in here. You might be able to get away with just clicking the one to get in there, the first one, but you might need the second one, and then they might ask you for a passcode. So that's really important. You can see it's pretty important here. Okay. All right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this on the fly here because we don't need that there. Put it in one place so it's not confusing. There's the manual in two different places, so I'm going to get rid of it there. Okay, it's cleaned up a little. Great. Okay. Zoom link. Okay. Now you're going to be interested in what the point assignments are for all the different parts of the class. That's what we have here. Okay. So we have Globus end of chapter quizzes are 10% of overall grade. Class participation is broken down into 5 and 5 in class and their career pursuit. Okay. Then we have the Globus quizzes for the simulation. There's 2 of them, and that's something you have to keep clear. Listen to me here now, hopefully, and get this straight. There's 2 kinds of quizzes. Okay. There's end of chapter quizzes that are over near the text. You can read the text and take the quizzes. But in the simulation, there's actually 2 quizzes. They're entirely dependent on the manual. So you need to download that manual, have it printed, get an understanding of how it's organized so you can get at the information quickly. And if you really want to do well, I mean, if you lean into this and you want to run a business, I want to put it that way. If you want to really run a business, you'll read the manual. There is just endless detail in there. And it's usually a race to be able to absorb enough of it in the first 3 weeks to get good enough so that the rest of the time goes pretty well. Okay. So there's 2 quizzes, 5% of each. And there's a Globus team ranking at the end. When you're all done with this, there is a ranking. I can do there's a point system that I have for how you get ranked there. Okay. And then you need to beat the derelict company. Okay. So what I had to do is institute this, that if we had a slacker group, which I'm afraid to say that there were, and didn't really push very hard, they just got finished, they got a grade, and everything was great. But they lose, basically, if you lose 5% on your end grade, you're losing either 1 or 2 minor grades. You'll take it from an A- to what, a B or something like that, if you do not beat the derelict company that just sits around and does nothing, the loafing company. You'll understand that in a minute. In addition to you, all your teams, I've set up a couple extra teams. Okay. One of them is a derelict company. Okay. Then there are 2 company 3-year plans. Each of them are 5%, and they add up to 10. Okay. The final Globus report and presentations is almost, well, it's 25%. It's a big part of the score. Okay. So you need to be really working with your team well. I'm very open. It should be very clear. Everybody's got to support each other. If not, I do take commentary. There's a place in the system to rank your teammates. And if things get obviously out of whack, sometimes people have to step away from a class and they can't work on it at all or something like that. I've had that, we've all seen that. But you're not going to be able to slide through without having commentary, and you will get penalized for non-participation. Okay, that gets into your class participation. Then we're going to switch about 2/3 into the course. We're going to switch for the last third. We're going to do the final individual project. We're going to switch gears from big multinationals to how do you start with a value proposition and get it to market. So it's a bit of entrepreneurship. Okay, and people generally really enjoy that. So I'll be bringing that up through the class to remind you to keep thinking of ideas of things that you're close to. It might be a hobby. It could be driving to school. It could be living in the dorm. It could be whatever on the internet. Okay. The one thing I do not allow is an app. You cannot make the app the main thing. The app can support a business, but it can't be the business. And we'll talk about that. And then finally, there's a final exam. Okay. And the last week when you come back, or no, when you don't come back, there's actually kind of an exam week. And I'll explain to you that the capstone class, what this is for the entire program, we do some tracking. It's quality tracking with other colleges that are at our peer level or what they call aspirant level, where we're trying to reach to. Add those all up, you get 100. Okay. So we just covered a lot really quickly. And that's what we normally do on Monday, the first day we get back. Okay. All right. So that's, you can go right there. I have all these tabs set up. The online department that sets up eClass loves it when I talk to them because I use all the colors. Hopefully that's helpful. You can see what's going on. So all this, what is it called? Blue violet. Okay. So this is colors called blue violet is your header material. It's all kind of class organizations. Then we go to green. Okay. What happens? I'm going to get ahead of here. Excuse me. And I'm going to start putting some tabs in here, but they'll be gray. You'll be able to see them. Now, these are turned off. You won't be able to see them. If you go to eClass, you're only going to see up to this point right there. Okay? You're not going to see any of these other tabs because they're hidden. I'm seeing it because I'm an instructor, right? So I'll be flipping all these on, and there's generally a tab for every day. Okay? So let's take a look what would have happened on Monday, right? So Monday, I didn't really put anything in there because it kind of fizzled, all right? But Wednesday, tomorrow, we're going to go here. I've already been here once on the video already, and we're going to talk about what's going to be due this week, and we have to jump at it. And every time we meet, we'll have a daily submit. So most of you have had me before. You understand. You'll do a Microsoft Word, or it's usually Word in this class. We don't do too much Excel, so we mainly like a Word document, so I can start prepping you for your final report and create a report like you've never created before, is in high quality, not bad, good. Okay. All right, so that's a tour there. And now I'll show you a little bit about the Globus. We're marching along here. Let's see what we've got. How long have I gone? We've gone 22 minutes. See, it takes a long time to get through these things. All right, so I'm going to go to Globus over here. And you're seeing quite a bit from the instructor's perspective. Okay, so this is like the control tower. But I can dive in. I'm going to show you on this first one where Kristen has registered already. She's waiting for her teammates to register in there. Okay, and you have to get going because you need to pull something together by tomorrow, literally Thursday night for Friday. I really want you to experience going in and throwing the switches and pulling the levers, as I call it, or knobology, spinning the knobs. All right. Okay. So these are all the different companies, and down to this point, down to the I company, we have living, breathing students driving the management panel, the management dashboard. But you'll notice there's a J. Okay, so your J is going to be your derelict company, and no changes will be made week to week in J. This is what we call the derelict company. That's like your baseline. You have to beat the derelict company. Okay, and it's good little pressure to make sure you don't drop below that. And we had the most competitive team I had was in spring 2020, and one of the gentlemen remained. He remained in the system. He participated in a invitational. It was like an invitational. He got invited to participate because he did so well. Their team crushed it. He devoured. I'd love to have him as a speaker to explain what to do. He devoured the manual, and he went out this tenaciously. And he ended up. I haven't been in touch with him because we had such a weird wind down from last year that there was not a graduation. I didn't see him, and I'm linked into him with LinkedIn, but that's it. So there's a derelict company to beat. And then the K company might come alive later on, okay? Just when you think there's no one catching you, nipping you at the tail, K company comes out of nowhere, okay? All right, so we're at 24 minutes on this. Let's dive in. I'm going to show you, there are some videos available to you, but I have a different interface, and I'm just going to have to be honest with you. I don't know how to get at the videos from your panel, okay? So let's go back up here to the A company. Everybody's going to rename their company, but it has to start with the letter that it's named right now. So Kristen could be Abracadabra or something like that, and then Matt and Brent could be, Best Company, and then C for something. I don't know. All right. So you're gonna end up editing that. So let's dive in. This is what the panel looks like. Okay. Whoa, look at all these numbers, right? That's why you need to read the participant manual. It's going to explain a lot of what's going on here. So the thing to keep, I'm going to give a really fast overview. If you look over here on the left, this column here is a lot of resources. You're going to have to work every decision round. They call them DRs, decision rounds, is a year. Okay, so this is turn-based. You set up a bunch of parameters to be competitive, and then you have to wait for the clock to drop to finish, and then after the clock drops, everybody's scored against each other. It's very complex. Underneath the covers here, the computer work that they do is assessing many different items all at once. All right. So at the top, you have these decision entries, and you start at year 6. Your company's been around for 5 years, so this isn't a startup. And you're making drones and cameras, the quadcopters that commercial videographers use that they put the cameras on. So you make both the quadcopters and you make the video cameras. And you have to design both of them, okay? So you go through 7 screens here. On the left, I'm going to click down. Here's product design. You're going to market your cameras. You have to make marketing decisions about your drones. You have to figure out how to pay people and how to invest in your facilities. You have to treat your channel. You're pushing product out through channels. You have to institute special contracts to some of the channels to get them more interested in using you as their products. Okay, and they walk before you run. So it says we're going to wait till year 9. So you're going to go year 6, 7, and 8 before you have to worry about that. Corporate citizenship, triple bottom line, right? Okay, so you have to decide how much you're going to put into this and what kind of payback you get by doing that. All right, and then finally, finance and cash flow. You can buy and sell your own stock. You can do buybacks and you can issue stocks. Okay, and then you can also take on debt. All right, so that's what you do here. Now, there's different forms of information that come back at you. The Camera and Drone Journal is like from an association of drones and cameras makers. Okay, so you're considered against all your competitors in here. So you have to read this every before you make decisions. You have to go through here and read this. Okay, it's going to give you all these scoreboards in here that you have to go through. Okay, and this whole entire system follows the balanced scorecard, of which there's a number of key targets or key performance indicators, KPIs, okay? And there's basically 5 of them, okay? And they are, if you'll notice in the Camera and Drone Journal, they track them. Earnings per share is EPS, return on equity is ROE, stock price is your 3rd, your credit rating is your 4th, and your image is your 5th, okay? And they tag on here in the journal. So it's like a journal you get online or in the mail, and all this is going to be filled in. It's going to show you, or it's going to show investors are going to want this journal, and it's going to compare you against all these other. Here's your companies here. Did you receive a Bullseye Award? We'll talk about what that is. The other special award is the Leapfrog, okay? So there's 2 awards here. The Leapfrog is the one team, just one, that has done the most improvement, and the Bullseye is the one that has hit their target the closest. That's what the idea there is between these. All right. Page 4, industry overview. Page 5. You know, if you're in business, you're going to want to read the nitty gritty details of this to be able to develop your own strategy, and that's where the book comes in. We're going to understand what the different strategies are. Okay. Okay. So then there's a competitive intelligence report. Wow, look at all this information. Yeah. Okay, so competitive efforts. Regional average competitor. Go through this, okay? Company operating reports. So we're going to go, well, we'll walk through this, but it's very experiential. It's a lot of learn as you go along. Read the manual 18 times because you have to keep going back and you'll be going, aha, that's what they meant by that. All right? So it's a bit of a scramble. Everybody's scrambling to be competitive here. So you want to absorb as much information and put it to use as quick as possible, right? Quickly as possible. And finally, financial statements. Okay. So those are the screens that you have available to you. This now what I'm looking at looks more like what you're going to be seeing. Okay. And some information I can see you're not going to be able to see, be able to compare between companies. Like I can't talk about one company to another on certain issues because I can see maybe I can start detecting what their strategy is because I have a little bit more information. Okay, but there's basically 5 strategies built around what a low priced value proposition, like a value. I'm not looking for a lot of features. I don't want pretty paint. A lot of other things don't matter to me. Okay. And then finally, and then so the other axis of that would be on features, quality, kind of visual appeal, luxury type aspects to it, and that's all in the manual. Okay, so that's how you structure your strategy. Are you going to go low cost value, or are you going to go high priced and probably low volume? Right, you're going to sell fewer of the higher end ones. Okay, so just when you thought that was complicated enough, you're competing. If on the screen you can see you're competing against 4 different geographic areas that all have different buying behaviors. Again, you need to read the manual. North America, Europe and Africa, Asia Pacific, and Latin America. It's extremely very real world. Okay, print that manual out ASAP as soon as you get this message and can do it. Okay, bind it up, put a big fat staple in it or whatever, put it in a folder. It should be crumpled and ragtag by the time you get to the end of the course here because you have to read things quite a bit. Okay, and in saying so, the biggest challenge that you have right now immediately is to dive in the manual, and there are 2 online quizzes right in the system here, and the first one is due Sunday night. So you need to get with your team, and there's a practice round for year 6 that will be due midnight on Thursday. Okay, so we're getting a little pinched for time, but you're hearing about it now. So you have to do your best, get that manual, get in the system. It has a lot to do with how much time you spend in the system and try different things. It's going to be your success. Okay. So the 2 quizzes you have to get a 90 or above on, and you have 3 chances to do that. All right. So I've learned I've had to limit the number of tries because people weren't taking advantage of the tries, just asking for another try, and then that adds to my grading headaches. And it's just that's not realistic anyway. You want to be able to get through that, and within 3 tries, your scores should be increasing. You can work with your teammates. You can work with other people that took the class. You could work with people on your team because it's hard. Okay, it's only hard because you have to be patient. Slow down to pass those tests because the information sits right in the manual, word for word, and it really just amounts to people that don't have patience. Don't go and just hunt down everything. And it's the hunting down and understanding this that's going to make you effective punching numbers in and figuring out what means the most, where to spend your money in the business. Okay, just about getting to the end here. Let me run back over to my document. We registered in the system. There's an e-text on there. It's like a second half of the system. When you get into Globus, it splits you off to the other direction where there's just a text and chapter quizzes. All right, and there's not actually no reference into the simulation. Okay, so it's the fundamental knowledge that we need in the simulation, not direct. Okay, and for that there are these weekly chapter quizzes for the first 12 weeks. Every Sunday night there's a chapter quiz. So you have a chapter quiz. I believe I have to check my schedule. Let's check the schedule. Let's go over to the schedule here. Where's my schedule? I have to double check how I signed it up. Over here. Okay, and let's take a look at our 15 weeks. Okay, this is where I generated the 15 weeks. And let's see, we have a chapter quiz. Okay, so you're, let's see, practice, Globus practice. Here. And actually, you have a little time. On this calendar, it's showing that the Globus Simulation Quiz 1 isn't due for a while. I have to double check if that's correct because I think that's off. That should be for the quiz 2 over here. But anyway, I don't want to drag it out here in this video. I just have to double check. I think that's supposed to be up here for due before Monday the 3rd. Like Sunday the 2nd would be when it was due. I think that's when I actually set it up. Let's go over to the system, see if I can find that really fast. Okay, and let's take a look at the schedules. And simulation quiz 1, yeah, I thought I was off by a week on there. It's not on that chart right. I have to fix the chart because the first simulation quiz is due not this Sunday night, but the next Sunday night. So you have 2 weeks to get that done. I'll have to make sure that I get that accurate in there. Then there's another simulation quiz that comes up shortly thereafter. Okay. So keep that in mind. All right. So I'm going to repair that, patch it up, put it back into the e-class and into the syllabus, and off you go. All right. So everybody's clear to take off on that. What I've written here, I've already covered. 2 simulation quizzes, must attain 90 or better within 3 attempts. There's about 2 simulation years or rounds per week, and we start off by practice 6 and 7. So you start on year 6. There's a practice year 6, then there's a practice year 7, and that's to get everybody clear as to how this thing works. You have to use that to the best of your abilities to get in there and get dangerous with it and figure out how it works, because then we reset that, and then the real 10 years comes up, and at that point it goes there'll be one due on Thursday night, and there'll be one due on Sunday night for 5 weeks. Okay, so there's 10 of them. Divide by 2, you get 5 weeks. Okay. Now there's 2 3-year plans, and that we'll do in Microsoft Word. Okay, we'll get some more practice writing good reports, and then all of you on each team will create a final report and presentation for the class. Okay. As soon as that finishes off, we get to change a little bit and think about things for yourself. How do you become a millionaire? What kind of ideas do you have? Okay. And that all will take place before Thanksgiving. And when we come back, we're going to run the 2-day I keep saying come back. We're going to run the multi-field test, and then there'll be a final exam. Okay. So I'm going to cut that right now because that's enough. And you can keep referring to this and come back to it, zip zap forward and backwards in here. Okay. Looking forward to see you tomorrow and for the rest of the semester. I hope you do well and you enjoy this simulation. It's challenging. It's challenging. So people that do well in it feel like they've really accomplished something when they've gotten through. You got to hang on to it. Don't take it too lightly. And the real thing is to front load this, is to do a lot of work up front to understand it. Okay. And I'll let you go at that. We'll see you Wednesday. Bye now.